And this is Heat
What do we got?
meets Ocean's 11
Yeah.
meets Reservoir Dogs
Who cares?
in an 8-hour series about consequences and love. But is it worth your time? Let's discuss. After a heist, the crew have gone their separate ways, but now they are being targeted by a killer one by one. So if you literally were to take Ocean's 11, Reservoir Dogs in a series, that's kind of what you get with Heat shootouts. In amongst that, sprinkled a bit of a love storyline, which is kind of what anchors the story to reality, I guess. Otherwise it would be all over the place. We have a protagonist that was once part of this crew and it has a new life, and we see that life kind of unravel because his past has come back to haunt him. And that's where every episode starts with a little bit of the beginning of what happened in the heist and what went wrong with the heist. And so by the time you get to the end, you have a full complete picture of how the heist went down and what is happening in the present. And it's a really nice wrapped up puzzle piece story that kind of lets you know where you are and what time, because they have big titles, then and now, past, present, that sort of thing is displayed on screen, so you know what's happening, so you're not confused with what timeline you're in. Now when it comes to the pacing, I think for the most part it does well for the 8 hours that it's been given, and I think it's very much bingeable because you want to know what's going to happen in the end. I would say that you're going to figure out big plot device as to the why this is happening, why a certain person put this together, and you'll figure it out fairly quickly, but you won't mind because there are a few other questions you want to know about, and also the how. So there is mystery, but there's enough tenseness for you to keep wanting to watch what's going to happen with the characters. One of the things that this series does well is it doesn't pull any punches with our characters. So every time you get comfortable with a particular character, you might end up liking them because they're showing us a different side to the characters that not are strictly two-dimensional characters. They have a bit more weight to them, and they get taken off the board. Then you're not sure who's going to survive at the end, which character is going to survive, if any. You are up in the air, so that keeps up the tenseness. But there is a bit of a slowness in the pacing, a lull in the middle, where I feel like they could have cut a bunch of, I don't know, just kind of waiting around, pointless scenes that didn't really seem to further the plot or the story. But that's a little bit in each episode, and I felt like they could have quickened that up a little bit, so we could have ended up with 6 or 7 episodes, and I think that would have helped the pacing be much quicker. But I wasn't overly going, oh, this is wasting my time clock watching. I was, for the most part, engaged the whole way through. Part of the reason that there is this tenseness, in the logline it mentions that our characters that perform this heist are chased by an assassin because of basically what they've done, or what the consequences of that is. And we have this assassin who is codenamed, like in Reservoir Dogs, all our characters have these code names. He's called Devil, and he's the classic Bond villain. He's a Terminator that just won't stop. He seems to be unkillable, has 2 different colored eyes, and is very menacing. And because you have that pushing you forward the whole time, you're on edge wondering who's going to survive, when somebody's going to get taken out. That really helps keep up that momentum, that feeling of, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next. That's just a nice character motivations, but you don't get much background as to some of these characters or who they are. Some of them do stay two-dimensional, but we don't really need more from them. They just need to kind of be that presence to drive the story forward, which works wonders. When it comes to the camera work, I think they've done a fantastic job in creating different atmospheres. There's a few shots that I noticed that were just straight out of a noir detective novel, where the shadow is covering most of our characters, but you'll just have their eyes highlighted in a beam of light. There are moments like that when there's interrogation, and just again kind of harking back to films like Reservoir Dogs, or when someone's being questioned, they need to find something out. Kind of mixing that noir, but also that heist kind of plays well into established zeitgeist of what has happened in the past or is established in other films, and they use that here, and you feel comfortable with how they framed every shot. It works well to progress that tenseness and keep you in a heightened sense of tenseness, almost at the edge of your seat, but not quite. And when it comes to acting performances, there's one actress, I love Jenna Atherton. I think she's great. She has a lot of presence. She doesn't have a lot of screen time, but for what what she does have in the series scattered sort of throughout. When you see her, you believe her in her role. And I would say that for the most case, in the most of our protagonists, because there's multiple different characters that have different code names, because you need a safe cracker, you need an explosive expert. All of those characters have their own names, and everybody is good with what they've been given. No one really lets the team down. But when it comes to someone that is spectacular in this series, I think, and I think I'm probably going to decimate her name, it's Niamh, however, Niamh Algar. Niamh. She plays a character named Psycho, and she could have just been the crazy character that is just Psycho. She's an assassin, she's a psycho, and she has fun with her job. But as we go along in the series, there's more meat given to her without any dumping of exposition, and that is expert storytelling. When you give us information about a character, you understand some weight and what's happened to a character, you want to know more about them, but the little tidbits that you get from the story development, finding out about that character, like when a character takes off a top and there's a bunch of scars, you are gleaming information without them dumping a whole bunch of information in a splurge of dialogue. That's like the worst storytelling device you can do. They don't do that yet. They tell it through showing, which is fantastic. She became my favorite character throughout this series. Now, our protagonist, I think, is fantastic as well. Is played by, let me get his name right, Nathan Stewart Jarrett, who plays as Joe. He's kind of the glue that holds the series together, because we follow in his shoes. We're trying to see whether he's got this new life, his relationship with his partner and 2 kids, whether at the end of the day they're going to survive the day, whether this relationship's going to save the day, and he's going to live his life away from crime. So desperate to choose that. His character is very multifaceted. He's a bad guy, but has the heart of gold. He's a good guy, but has a set of morals. It's sort of like John Wick character, not as skilled as John Wick, not nearly, but has some skill. When it comes to the action, I think you're going to appreciate how they showcase it, because it's more hard-hitting, it's more real. It's not like it's choreographed in the way that these people are martial arts experts, or it's a Hollywood stunt choreograph. It's more like people are going to die through gun shootouts and some hand-to-hand combat, but only those that actually know how, and not everybody in the world is an assassin. Some people just know how to throw a punch. So it comes to the feeling like it feels authentic and real in its fighting sequences. And so if you liked Heat, if you liked Ocean's 11, if you liked Reservoir Dogs, and you put those 3 things together and you want it to be held together by a love story and consequences, then that's what you get in this story. So if you want to watch it in the UK, it's all out now. They're following that Netflix sort of formula, dumped all 8 episodes. I feel like this one's going to be overlooked a bit. It's unfortunate, because I think it's one of the better series on the platform. Not a superhero series, but an original story that's interesting to watch, has well developed characters, and is a one and done. There is a little clip as the credits roll, so don't switch off immediately. You'll see a little clip of a thing that's happened, and just feels like right that this thing would happen. It's not really an end clip scene or saying that there might be another series. It's just part of the story. So I would stick around for that and watch that. That'll bring up discussion as to what's going to happen. I think this was really good. I think you could spend a lot of time thinking about it and maybe nitpicking at bits, but for the most part I thought the characters were developed well. I think there is some plot protection for things that need to happen when, and some characters have plot protection in parts because they need to be there for the story to progress as how they've been written. But for the most part, it's all believable, and I think this is a solid series that I'm going to enjoy, maybe watching again one day. So I'll give this 4 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
And you got one. Congratulations.
Let me know if you're going to stick this on. Who's your favorite character in this series once you've watched it? When's the last time you watched Heat or Reservoir Dogs? Or even Ocean's 11, kind of 3 classics. Thanks so much for watching, but most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.